Welcome to a new episode, Way More Customers. It's your host, Bilal. On today's episode, I have a really special guest. His name is Tommie Powers. Welcome, Tommie.
Thank you. Welcome. Glad to be here.
Awesome, Tommie. So, I'm so happy that you're on this episode. There isn't a lot of information about you online, and it was really hard to find you and contact you and stuff. But I'm so happy that you're here. From everything that I've researched about you, I can't wait to share your knowledge and your experience with our audience.
Oh, for sure, man. I'm not a social media guy. I don't really, I don't really like beat my chest and, press and all of this type of stuff, man. I just kind of do the work. I mean, I need to be more out there, and I probably, working on that. But, I just do the work, man. I think, I like my track record to speak for itself, so to speak. So I just like to put the work in, and when people question, it's like, go check out my track record. Go talk to people that work with me, and that's how I like to do it. I'd rather other people bragging on me than me bragging on myself. So that's really kind of what that's about.
Okay, so yeah, that makes sense. On my previous episode, a couple of episodes back, I was talking to Brian, and he was telling me that currently when he was working with Dean Graziosi, he was spending about $250 per day on YouTube ads. And then he did a 1 day of consulting with you, and you convinced him to move from $250 a day to $10,000 per day.
Yeah.
That's a huge margin in ad spend. How were you able to convince him to go from $250 per day to $10,000 per day?
It wasn't really a convincing thing. It was really Dean brought me in for that. You know what I mean? So I met Dean. I've been knowing about Dean for years, but I met him through this Genius Network, which is a mastermind. It's a high-end mastermind. It's like 25K. They got a 100K level as well. They got some really, really dope people in there, a lot of really movers and shakers. And Dean and Joe Polish, who run that, they're pretty tight. And so I met Dean there, and, some of the guys that are higher up in there who, actually my buddy Jason Flatland, I don't know if you heard of Jason before, but Jason had a lot of influence in that network, and he was bigging me up. I've been knowing him for a long time. I've been knowing Jason since like 2009 or something like that. So he's really bigging me up. And so that's what, Dean, and he was like, these guys are telling me, you're this YouTube, whatever. He's like, man, I got my team working on it, and I would love it if I could figure out a way to get you to come and help them figure out how to scale us so we can be all over YouTube. And I was like, okay, easy. Let's set it up. And so we worked out a deal, and we set it up, man. And that's how, when I went there that day, I met Brian that day. And obviously we ended up having, that was like a 90-day follow-up as well to kind of work him through, because it's kind of lay out the strategy. And then it's kind of like walk him through the process of, now that you have a strategy and you're executing that strategy, making sure that you're able to execute it properly. And they just kind of took off, and then they was just, they was all over YouTube. Right.
So, like just talking about that, like Brian, what he was said is like, he was kind of like, I wouldn't say scared, but, like you feel bad when you lose money. So he was always hesitating. And his max that he spent in the entire month was, he said, like about $5,000, and just spending that in 1 day, 10,000, like for him as a person, right? Like that requires so much change and so much like convincing yourself and doubt, So how were you able to like influence him to, hey, look, this is nothing. Like this is a small percentage of spending that you need to do per day.
I mean, again, it was, Dean, had the mindset to want to do that, so he brought me in for that. So it was really just more about Brian. It's like, take the pressure off of yourself and put it on me. I've done this before. I'm going to show you how to do it. And the fallout from that, if you do everything that I say and it don't work, the fallout is on that is going to be on me and not necessarily a reflection of you. So I think a lot of it was more or less like him having the ease of mind to say, you know what, I can go and push because I got somebody who's coaching me and pushing me, to go, and I'm doing what he tells me. And if I do everything that he say, I can go and say, well, this guy, I can pass that on to him. So, and so once he was able to do it, it was like, a different mindset, because it's really just a mindset thing, really, ultimately. But you got to find a place in your mind to justify right? And so, you know, and obviously I know this of, you know, having done a lot of, you know, consulting and coaching and, you know, obviously doing this stuff. I understood that with him, and then Brian was young. I think when I met him, he was maybe like 21, 22, maybe, you know, so super young, early in the game, and, you know, probably had some experience, but not at that magnitude, right? And so I understood, like, you know, put the pressure on me, take it off of yourself. Just follow the things that I'm telling you, and I'll be here to guide you along the way. And I think after a couple of months, I have you, you know, you'll be killing it if you just follow what I'm saying, and then you'll just be able to take off from there. And that's kind of what happened.
Okay, so are you saying that you created a system now that's like, you know, plug and play, you put in the pieces and then you just let it run and then you analyze it and then it produces, like, you know, the results?
I wouldn't say it's plug and play. I think it's, you know, strategically, there are concepts systematically that you follow, but the execution of it is definitely not necessarily plug and play. There's a lot of if this, then that, you know, and it varies from one situation to the next because every business is different. So you kind of have to do it. And I was forced to do this in my career, you know, understanding that just because I did something on one situation don't mean I can carry it over, and vice versa. So in my career, because I've been doing this since 2007, so I had to figure out, okay, what are the highest level concepts that if I stay focused on, they're going to get me to the next level up, because typically that's what people want. They want me to take them from where they are to some other level where they want to be. And how do I make sure that I have these concepts in place strategically that allow us to do that, and then figure out on the execution level how to make it work for this particular circumstance or this particular business model. So definitely not plug and play. If it was plug and play, I'd probably be selling a lot more coaching, consulting, and stuff like that. And honestly, I really don't even do a lot of that anymore. I just kind of focus on doing the work, and, you know, we get more mileage out of, you know, some of my clients that pay us. You know, it's pretty significant customer value on our clients. So it's better for me to really put my energy into that rather than, you know, a lot of the consulting and things like that or whatever. But definitely I wouldn't say plug and play. I wished it was, but it's just difficult to make plug and play a reality in the climate because everything changes so frequently, and you got to be able to adapt to the circumstance. One of the things I teach my team is, you know, part of one of our mission statements is, well, not mission statement, but one of our core things, I forget what I call them, but it's like agile by culture. Like culturally as a team, we have to have agility as a foundational element, because if we're not able to shift gears, you know, you can become a dinosaur in this game really quickly, you know. And this is this still is a very young industry in the grand scheme of business. So we have to have that. And so I had to learn that really early. Like, I can't think that I can build a plug and play and just take everything and just plug it in. You got to be able to understand the nuances of the changes and be able to pivot when necessary and go from there. And that's kind of really what, you know, I talked about with Brian. Is like, I'm going to focus you on the really big ideas that really matter. And then as you move along, because you understand them, you'll figure out, because you're a hustler and you got that mentality, and, you know what I'm saying, you're intelligent, you're sharp, you're smart. You'll then be able to use your instinct to then make the right choices on the execution side. So I wish it would plug and play.
Right. But I mean, you know, like, you're helping a company spend $10,000 per day, right? So and, you know, obviously you're helping them become profitable, right? And they're getting that back. So it makes sense for them to continue spending that, right? Because you're helping them be able to get that back.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I mean, like I said, you know, for a lot of people, that's very scary, you know, to make any jumps like that. You know, someone who's spending, like, you know, $100 a day on Facebook ads, you know, making them spend like even $2,000 a day is like very hard to do. You know, 2,000, like, they'll spend probably 2,000 a month. So 2,000 a day would be, you know, even a lot.
I think one of the issues with that as well is, you know, the mindset piece, because it's all mindset, to be honest with you. And, you know, one of the reasons why the coaching, consulting, and everything I'm not as passionate about currently, because I want people who've already made that shift in their mind that they want that and don't know how to get there. Because getting you to the point where you want that, that's a different thing, man. That's a different animal in itself, right? So if somebody come to me with the mindset to say, you know, I want to do 10 grand a day, 20,000 a day, whatever the number is, right? They've already made that decision in their mind. Then that's when I can step in. So like I say, going back to Brian as example, Dean already telling me up front before I even met Brian, like, this is what I want to do, and I need you to help my team do that, right? Versus someone's at $100 a day and I'm trying to convince them or get them in the mindset of 10 grand a day and they're afraid of that. That's really, I can't, I mean, I guess I could, but that's just a lot of work. I don't want to spend my energy on that. My time is too valuable for that. I'd rather go find the guy that is already in the $10,000, $20,000 a day mindset and then help them close the gap between where they are and that. You know what I mean? So it's all mindset. It's pure mindset. But I don't think there's anything that I can say to someone to make them do that. You know what I mean? Like, they have to want, like, I don't know. It's just a thing. You have to kind of get that shift in your mind of this is what you want first, then seek out, okay, how do I make this a reality? Because if I'm trying to get them to that and they haven't even decided they want that, I'm just going in circles, you know, and I don't really, my patience ain't long enough for that, you know? So that's a big shift that I had to make in my career from different clients when I was earlier in my career to now the type of people that I work with. I have to vet them to make sure that they already in the mindset and they're capable of being able to do something like that. And then I can show them how to do it.
Right. So, you know, you just mentioned, you know, your clients that you have are very high quality clients. You know, they have a good mindset. It's already made up. So you don't have to struggle about, like, you know, price or anything. So
correct.
That's amazing. And it shows that, you know, you have a very established business and you're, you know,
correct.
You're in a very healthy stage right now.
Yep.
So that's pretty awesome. So when you're saying that, you know, you qualify your clients, you know, they need to be comfortable at spending money, do you actually like ask them like, hey, how much do you want to earn? Or do you actually ask, like, do you focus more like on how much do you want to spend? I
focus on the outcome first. I always start at the end and work backwards. I'm a reverse engineer. I started out in engineering, you know, back when I was in college. I ended up changing my major to business, but, you know, my mind functions like an engineer. I'm a problem solver. So my thing first is, like, what is the outcome? Because that's really the problem, is I don't know how to get this outcome. And once I understand what the outcome is, then I can reverse engineer a strategy of how to get to that outcome. And then the spend is just a function of that. You know what I mean? So all of our clients right now doing at least 7 figures. So these aren't people that are coming to me, you know, with a lot of mindset stuff. A lot of them coming to me because I got the 7 figures and I don't know how to make 8, or I'm teetering on 8 figures and I don't know how to 3X, 5X that. You know, but I want that outcome. And then it's like, well, here's how we do that. And then the spend is just a function of getting there. You know what I mean? You start somewhere, because everybody ain't coming in and saying, oh, we're going to go from, you know, spending 50 grand a month to $500,000 a month. That's a process. But nonetheless, like, you know, they already know, they have an idea of the outcome that they want me to help them achieve. And then I just reverse engineer a game plan on how we do that. And then the spend just becomes a function of that. So I don't really get caught up in spend per se. I'm more about outcome, you know, creating outcomes with people who got a big idea of an outcome that they want, and they're in a position where they're likely to be able to do that, because then I know that they're going to spend at the levels that, you know, that makes sense for what, you know, I want to be able to do, and my offer, my agency and my team, you know, is going to be able to provide where it makes sense for us. So,
okay.
That makes sense.
Yeah, that makes so much sense. Thank you for, actually going and clarifying that. So let's say you had to give someone like, just an outline how to get this started. For example, let's say I wanted to release a book, okay?
Mhm.
And I've never done YouTube. I've done Facebook. Actually, let's talk about that first. Like, are you more? Would you say someone who wanted to advertise that you prefer YouTube over Facebook?
Currently, where we at now, we focus on in the agency. So there's a couple different pieces of my business where, I have partners and investments and that kind of thing. But particularly with my agency, which is the core thing that I do, that's where the majority of my time is spent, is building my agency, building my team around that. We focus primarily on YouTube ads. And the reason why is because that type of mindset that I want, typically what I found was I started getting these people who, we're spending $100,000, $200,000, $300,000 a month on Facebook, and that's all we're doing. And I'm scared. You know what I mean? I need to divert. Facebook is acting crazy. They just kind of really started picking up in like end of 2018, 2019. With Facebook and all of the stuff that was going on, and Zuckerberg having to, meet in front of Congress and all of this stuff. And people were really starting to be fearful about having all their eggs in that basket. So that's where I found the niche of, okay, if I just focus on these types of people, I'm gonna be better off. And then I'm a Google guy. So, I started in Google 2007. It's Google Display, but back then it was called Google Content Network. So I've always had a knack for AdWords. That's kind of how I built my career and my name, really in the AdWords ecosystem, which YouTube is. You need a Google Ads account in order to run YouTube ads. So when I started dabbling in YouTube, 2012 I bought my first YouTube ad in like 2012. It was very similar to what I was already doing with Google. And then I've obviously 2012 to now, it's a lot different, but I've been there through all of those changes. And, it's just kind of, for me, I'm more of a Google person than I am a Facebook. I say this a lot of times, like I got a lot of people that I know that I feel like is better than me at Facebook ads. But I don't really, and I don't say this to be, arrogant or anything. I just don't think it's a whole lot of people that when it comes to Google ads and particularly YouTube ads that are better than me. So that's just kind of how I see it. And I wasn't really on that mindset as much till I started I kept hearing the same thing over and over again. I'm spending all of this money on Facebook, but I'm not anywhere else. And I think YouTube is the next opportunity for me. And so that's when I was like, okay, I think I got a lane. Let me sit down in this lane and let me focus on what's going on. And by the end of last year, by Q4 last year, 2019, I made a decision. Me and my team were talking, and it just was like, I think we're just gonna focus on YouTube ads. And we're just gonna, get out of all of the rest of the stuff. And, we're gonna partner with people on the Facebook side for our partners and investments and that kind of thing. And as a company, as an agency, we're just gonna focus on YouTube advertising because, it kind of makes sense, right? It's like, these are 7-figure, 8-figure companies that are coming to me. You know what I mean? Even like Dean as an example, right? He's just a consultant. Like, this guy's, I don't even know how much revenue Dean's doing, but it's huge. He's a big deal. And so, but it's like, look, I want to do this in a big way. And I know that you're the guy that knows how to do this in a big way. And so I just kept hearing that broken record, if you will. And sometimes, man, part of our jobs is just to pay attention to what's being said and not get so caught up in what you think. And after really listening, I'm like, I think and it made a lot of sense. And, the agency just started really taking off. So I would say I don't pick one over the other, but I prefer, as a YouTube agency, people that already figured their offer out with Facebook ads. Because typically when you're buying cold traffic, there's a process you got to go through to get your thing working to the point. Well, if you can spend $100,000 a month on Facebook ads, even $50,000 a month on Facebook ads on a regular basis, on a regular and consistent basis, the likelihood of you being able to do the same or if not more on YouTube, it's so much higher. The percentage of success is so much higher, so that's kind of why I do that. But I wouldn't pick one over the other. I think Facebook is probably an easier platform for most people to learn and get working. But then once you need to diversify, I think YouTube is a perfect platform for a lot of people to really diversify their acquisition and their advertising budget, because it's just so effective. And by the time you figured all of this other stuff out, where you can spend 50,000, 100,000, 200,000, whatever the number is a month, regular basis on Facebook, you've already got kind of the offer side of it worked out. The rest of it is just figuring out how to like reshape it so that it fits kind of the YouTube play. But you're not kind of going through a lot of those early stage things with, you know, getting the right messaging, the offer, the conversions, if you're doing upsells, fulfillment. Like even with direct-to-consumer e-commerce, one of the big challenges with scaling a company like that when you're selling physical products is supply chain. A lot of people run into a problem when you're scaling. They run into issues primarily with customer service and fulfillment. Actually, managing inventory and getting it to people in a time, these things. And so typically what happens is when you figured all of that stuff out and you've broken through to that 7-figure level, for you to continue growing that, you've addressed a lot of those things. And so by the time it's like, hey, let's make this fit over here, we're not dealing with that stuff. It's purely just getting it to work on this platform thing. And I just found that lane to be refreshing to me. And I kind of just decided to park, or ride in that lane for a while. And that's kind of where I'm at now. So, but definitely not one over the other. I think they're both great. I think people should be doing both. And I think you should be making them complementary with one another, where you're getting the effects of both. You're leveraging them against one another rather than isolating, oh, I got this Facebook thing and I got this YouTube thing. So I prefer YouTube ads, but only because of the position that I'm in, and not from if I was a business owner starting a company or building a company, that I would pick one over the other. I would focus on whichever one I think is going to get me traction and then worry about the other ones. I wouldn't probably do multiple, but I think Facebook, honestly, is probably easier, to be honest. But, that's probably not serving me well by saying that, but what I believe.
Okay. So, earlier you were mentioning, you should start off with Facebook and then move to YouTube. Were you saying that because you just get better results and better profit if you focused on Facebook? You focused on YouTube afterwards?
No, man. We have instances now where clients are way more profitable on Facebook than they are on YouTube, even though we're spending large sums of money. But it's the thing about YouTube, and I have to communicate this to people a lot, is that typically what I find is the value of a buyer from YouTube tends to be higher than the value of a buyer from Facebook long term. But you don't see that until 12 months from now. You know what I mean? That's not an immediate. So if you compare them apples to apples on an immediate return, I think that's dangerous for people with a growth mindset of they really want to grow their business. You kind of want to, you want to be profitable, right? You don't want to just be, I'm going to spend this money and wait a year to get it back. But the way to evaluate it is not an apples to apples thing. It's more of a, if I can get a customer today and I can make money, I can be profitable with that, then you should do both. You should do Facebook and you should do YouTube, because now what's going to happen is your business is going to be better off. But down the line, you'll see the value of that buyer versus the other, and you can start making some different decisions at that point. And so that's really kind of the way to think about it. Now, in some instances, YouTube just flat out outperform, but it's not an exact science to it. I don't know why. I don't know the reason why. Sometimes YouTube will just blow Facebook out of the water, and sometimes Facebook will just blow to YouTube out of the water. I don't understand that. I don't know why that is true sometimes, but so it varies. You know what I mean? But I definitely don't look at it as one is more profitable than the other. You know, to me, if you can buy a customer and make money, I want to buy as many as I can from as many places as I can get them from.
Right, so that makes sense. And you know, like that was so nice of, you know, how you said it. You said you don't know which is profitable. You're just testing, right? So you're in like the trenches. You're actually like just testing, and you're just seeing what it gives you, and then you're basing, you know, some opinions.
Correct. Absolutely. Which
So,
is not an easy thing, right? You know, the data, you have to buy that data to kind of find out what does it mean. You know, you got to spend that money, you get some data, and then you try to figure out what is this data telling me, so that you can be able to make decisions off of it.
right, and that could also mean that you know the data that you're purchasing, right? Like it could be just making you lose money initially, right?
I mean, if that, you know, again, it's always a challenge for me to communicate that, because I play a long game, right? So I don't, you know, my uncle taught me when I was younger, you know, when something bad happens, it's not a loss, it's a lesson, you know? So for me, I never really see it as losing if I learned something. If I don't learn anything, then it's a loss. But if I learned something, it wasn't a loss, because I can build on that learning, you know? So again, a mindset thing, you know what I mean? And I mean, obviously in my career, I was in that place, but you know, as I got more into this game and I'm thinking back on these lessons that I learned from family and, you know, parents and siblings and everything in between, right? Because I can learn from everybody. I mean, my 17-year-old son teach me stuff, you know, but it's like, are you willing to learn something? And are you willing to invest in learning that? It's like college. Think about college. In America, a good college, trust me, I know my son is a senior in high school, he's 17 years old. I got to pay for college right now. I'm going to spend at least $100K to send my son to college, not knowing what's going to happen with that investment. So I got to invest now, and then hopefully that investment pays off. So I'm paying money for him to learn, and then we'll use those learnings to then build something, you know, significant off of that. You know, it's the plan. And so that's kind of the way I think about it. You know, I don't really look at the loss until I've evaluated, and it's like, I did this, it cost me money, I didn't get anything out of it, I didn't learn anything. Yeah, that's a loss. But very rarely, when I think that way, very rarely do I get a loss, because I always find a learning, I always find a lesson in those things. And that's a tough thing to get your mind wrapped around. I mean, even for me, I have to be reminded. I even have people on my team, you know, sometimes they have to remind me of these things. Sometimes you just, you know, you want what you want right then. You want it now. And, you know, it's not always now. And sometimes I even have to be reminded, like, you know, this is a long game. This is this is that. You didn't learn anything, but I learned something. It's like, you know, because my cousin, he's like my creative director, and me and him was last week, and he was telling me, he was like, you didn't learn anything, you know what I'm saying? But I did. And I had to step back from that and be like, you're right, you know? That's valuable that he's learning something, because that's going to then, we're going to be able to build off of that. But it's a different way of thinking. So it's definitely a challenge. It's definitely a challenge.
Yeah, you know, that's a really like beautiful mindset to have. You know, it's, like you said, it's not very easy, you know? So going back to what I was mentioning earlier, let's say I wanna you know, sell a book I have. Like I'm writing a book, I want to sell it. Where do you think I should start off from? Like if I have no audience, I don't have like any, like I'm completely new, I just want to like sell a book. Like do I put it on Amazon? Do I go on YouTube? Do I go on Facebook?
Yeah, I mean, if you're talking about running ads, I mean, the math got to work. You know what I mean? So it's like, I want to sell a book, I want to run advertising, and I have money to spend on advertising, and I need to get that money back in a certain amount of time. Just a book by itself, it's not going to do the trick. It's damn near impossible to sell a book and nothing else to these people who take this book without, you know, to get a return on your investment on the advertising piece. So obviously, you know, funnel, I see you got Russell's books in the background, Traffic Secrets, Expert Secrets, Tim Ferriss's book. So, and I have those books. You're going to need a funnel. You're going to need a way to be able to say, okay, if they take my book, how do I graduate them to some other level where I can make additional revenue from these people who buy my book? And it's just a simple math equation of trying to figure out what the math is, having an idea of, what does a click might cost me, and, how many of these people do I legitimately think I can convert on my book? And then how many of these people can I convert to do some other, buy some other things from me, and trying to figure out how to make that math work. That's kind of always where I start with. I start with the outcome, and then I try to figure out what the math might look like. Because even though when you test it, the math might not sync up, at least you go in with a mentality of, with some hypothesis. Is kind of how we, learned it in math and these things growing up. It's like, you have this hypothesis, you develop a hypothesis, and then you test that hypothesis. So, but if you're just selling a book, yeah, you probably want to just put that on Amazon or something like that. But if you want to buy ads, you're going to have a back end. You're going to have a funnel. You're going to have to sell them more than that book to be able to get a return on your investment, Okay, so that's where I would start.
So that makes sense. Okay, so let's say the front end, you have a book, okay? You have, a couple of pieces in your funnel. You have maybe you want to sell a course, maybe you have some coaching, yeah. So let's say that's your funnel. I'm just trying to, create an outline, and let's say your goal is to make 100,000 in a year.
Right. 100,000 in a year. So then it's like, how many customers do I need to make 100,000? How many people are going to buy my book? How many of those people are going to buy my upsells or my back end offers or whatever the case may be? That's really kind of how it's like, what are you selling? Like, how do you anticipate collecting 100K? If, okay, I'm selling coaching on the back end. Let's say I got a $1,000 coaching program, and, if you need to sell, 80 of those, that's 80 grand. You need to make the other 20,000 through your book or whatever the case may be. Then, it's like, well, how many books do I need to sell $80,000 worth of coaching? Right. So it's really kind of like going through that process of just, doing the work. Like, some people want the silver bullet. There are no silver bullets. You know what I mean? I mean, they are silver bullets that go in guns, but not in, you know what I'm saying? It's like you got to go through the process, and the process is, you got to continue asking the question, well, how do I get that outcome? I want 100K. Okay, if I want 100K, what do I got to sell to make 100K? If you're selling a $10 book, you need 10,000 of them. Your chances of selling 10,000 books at $10 a pop and being profitable is almost zero. It's not impossible, but it's damn near, right? So now it's just a matter of, okay, what's the ratio of things that I sell that gets me that 100K? And now you can start kind of breaking it out and start understanding, okay, I need these many people to buy books. And if I buy these many people, and maybe they'll buy my do-it-yourself course. And then a certain number of these people might buy, my coaching program. And then when I do the math on that, X number end up meaning I make 100K. And now you got a starting point to say, well, I need to sell 5,000 books or 3,000 books or whatever the number is. And then it becomes, okay, I want to be profitable. How much do I need to spend to make the profit that I want to make? If I generate 100,000, how much do I want to keep? Because the reality is, you can revenue gross and your net is two different things. So what do you want to net? Because if you want to net 100K, that means you need to make more than 100K. But if you want to gross 100K, what do you want to net? And then you obviously, you got to pay taxes, and that's different depending on where you live on the globe. But me in the United States, the taxes is ridiculous. So, if I want to net 100 grand, I probably need to make like 300,000 to net that by the time I pay my expenses and pay my taxes and I get to keep that. That's just kind of how you got to think about it as well. So that's kind of how I go through it. That's really like, I know there's more to it, and there needs to be more specificity in these different pieces, but you got to kind of think all of these things out and build out as detailed of a plan as you can to achieve the objective that you have, to then start having some type of hypothesis around what's possible if I do these things, here's the outcome that I would get. And then I can go test that hypothesis and invest in the ads if ads is the thing. If ads isn't the thing, I don't really know. I'm an ads guy. I'll just go buy my way. You know what I mean? The organic stuff and this, that, and free traffic and all of that. I don't really get caught up in that stuff like that. I just go spend the money.
Okay, so thank you for giving us the game plan of how it's done. Okay, I want to make it a bit simpler. Let's say 100, like 100K is in a year. Let's say you want to make 10,000 per month. Okay, and you said that you should stretch for long term. So is 3 months a good stretch period that you should be making like 10K every month until like your third month?
Back up. Repeat that again. I don't understand.
So let's say your goal is to make 10,000 per month.
Okay.
And you have a $10 book.
Right.
And so you're starting traffic for the first time. How would you is your goal to get that person or that book as many eyeball as possible, and then you send it to everyone, and then you see who interacts mostly with it, and then you focus on them? Or what is the strategy to getting started into YouTube ads?
Yeah, I mean, again, it's these things are very subjective, but for me personally, it's always a long game, and yeah, I would prefer to put that book in somebody's hands and get feedback from that and then grow from that. But when you're spending money to acquire these people, you have to then also be in the mindset of, I know I'm not gonna make any money. I want this feedback. So I'm spending money on ads to get this book in people's hands because I want the feedback. The return on investment is the feedback that's then gonna allow me to build on that. And I think that's where the challenge becomes in at, because we get sold all of the time. I'm gonna show you how to go from $0 to $10,000 per month, even if you don't know this, that, and the third, or without X, Y, Z, right? And you don't have to know anything. You can be brand new and blah, 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 right? And, while that stuff is probably possible, it's not going to be something that I'm going to push because I don't know how to tell you to do that. But I can tell you that, if you're buying ads, initially, yeah, for me, I want the feedback is the return on the investment, because then I'm going to take that feedback and figure out how to build on that, because it's like, what are your responses about this book? What could I have done different? What did I leave out? Blah, blah, blah. Like, would you be interested in, my help? How do you want my help? Do you want me to coach you? Do you want me to create a course for you? Do you want to da-da-da-da-da, right? Like, there's a lot of different variations of ways you can serve those people, get that feedback, and then you can build on that feedback. But that money that you spent to put that book in people's hands, you're not going to probably get that back in money per se. At least you might get some of it back, but most of it you may not be. And for me, I wouldn't be focused on that. But again, if you don't have money to invest in your business, this is not something you really can do. That means you probably need to go work a job and save some money so you can invest in your business. You know what I mean? If you don't got nothing, no capital to really invest like that, so it's really difficult to do that. So I think it also depends on your circumstance, of whether you could do that.
Okay, so you're saying that, for people who want to get started and they need to have an investment, are you saying that you're really good, obviously, with people that are, making a very high-end income and have investments? Do you think this is also possible for people that have a lower investment amount?
Absolutely. But it's all a mindset. You know what I mean? It's all about, what are you willing to invest in yourself up front to be able to figure out how to build something long-term and sustainable, And so it's again, it's like, I could quit everything that I'm doing right now. I could start all over again, but everybody might not be in that position, because I could start all over again right now, and I have capital to invest in. If I decided I don't want to do any of this other stuff anymore, and I just want to go build another thing, I can go to that table with money in hand so that I can invest in building that thing. Most businesses, by the way, don't turn a profit for the first couple years. you know. So the mindset of starting a business and being profitable immediately, it's not realistic for most people. I mean, it's possible because people do it, but it's probably very low success rate in doing that, you know. So it's all about mindset of, you know, am I able to invest until I get something to work? And I think people can do it. You know, it's just a matter of, you know, where your mindset at and what are you selling? And, you know, there's some particulars in there, but I've seen people start with a couple $1,000s and be able to build a, you know, a $10,000 a month business. It didn't happen overnight. It probably took them, you know, a year or so or two. But I've seen people start with small investments and with $50 a day, $20 a day, whatever it is, and then build something. You know what I mean? But you can't do it with no money if you're trying to talk about buying ads. You have to be willing to invest up front and be mindful that I'm probably not going to get a profitable return in the short term. So I need to find what are the things that what is a return on my investment that's not money that's going to allow me to move forward. So I do believe that people can. I just think you know, at some point, you know, you got $50. It's probably really challenging, but you know, maybe if you started as an affiliate, right, you could push, because that's what I did. I started this game pushing other people's products. And I started with, I think I spent $3,000 before I made my first commission. You know, and that was like the last $3,000 we had. But once I made a commission, I was like, okay, this works. And my wife was like, but you spent $3,000 and you made $30. And I'm supposed to be happy? Get out of here. She was calling my parents and siblings and everything. It's like telling my sister, like, I think your brother done lost his mind. You know, he spent $3,000 and he made $30. And I'm supposed to believe, but in my mind, I was like, this works. I'm going to reverse engineer this. You know what I mean? So I started with like a couple $1,000s, and then I was able to, you know, early in my career, this was 2007. So I didn't make my first commission until probably like early 2008, maybe like February or something like that. And by July of that year, I think I was pulling like 45, 50K a month, and I was spending about half of that. So I was spending maybe like 20 to 25,000 and making about 45 to 50,000, you know, because it happened really quick. Once I got it reverse engineered and it hit, I think I had my first profitable month, maybe like April, maybe like April. I made, went from like February, and then March, I kind of was like, not break even. And then March, April, I was probably, maybe I made like $2,000 profit. But by like that July, you know, I just found a thing, because I was testing like a bunch of different offers, you know, and it was like two of them that kind of stood out. And one of them just kind of took off, and I just kind of went hardcore with that one. And that July, I think I did about $45,000, and I spent about $25,000. So it can happen really fast like that, but like that was a grind leading up to that. So for me, I didn't have to have a product. I didn't have to have, you know, employees or anything. You know, I was just buying traffic and pushing someone else's offer, you know, basically. So there's a lot of ways to do it. But if you're talking about a book, your own book, that's probably a bit more challenging there. If you are just starting, you don't have no products, you have a book, you don't have a catalog of products. It's probably going to be really challenging, but I think it can happen if you got the right mindset and that you understand that I have to invest in mentors, because that was really a game changer for me as well. You know, surrounding myself with people who have figured out this stuff before. But again, I had to pay money, you know, and I still do. I talked about Genius Network earlier. That was a $25K investment. You know what I mean? And it's like, you know, but I met Dean, you know, I met a bunch of other cool people too, but like Dean was one of the people that I met. Dean paid me money. I came in and I gave, you know, Brian some game, and Brian took it and he went crazy with it. And Brian came on your show and bragged about me, and you reached out and was like, hey, I want you on my show because this guy says you're amazing. You know, but if I wouldn't have put that 25K up, I would have never met Dean. I would have never met Brian. I would have never met all the other cool people, you know. But again, it's like, you know, I think it's possible if you just put your mind to it and you believe and you put the work in. But you also got to be a realist. You know what I'm saying? You got to be realistic. That's why I'm big on the math. It's like, does the math make sense? If the math doesn't make sense, it's probably not going to work. But if you can get some math that makes sense to you and you can test it, because even with that, right, like you can go and test with a $10 book. You can put $100, $200 in and know if you own this something or not. You know what I mean? You can test that really easily. You don't have to say, I'm going to I got this $10 book and I need $10,000 to get this business off of the ground. No, you can get you a ClickFunnels account. You can build you a funnel. You know, you can go real basic with it, right? You can, what is ClickFunnels, like $100 a month now or whatever it is, right? You can buy Russell's book, because Expert Secrets is an awesome book, actually. Like, that's a really dope book. I have that book. I've read that book. I actually got stuff I've circled and everything in that book. And that book is a blueprint, so that book, you could get that book, you get ClickFunnels and a couple $100, and you could test your idea for very, very cheap to get some feedback to figure out, do I feel like I'm on the right path or not? And then you can decide and move forward from there. So it's possible, man, for sure.
Okay, well, first I just want to say, thank you for making it so realistic of what's possible and what's not possible, and how you need to actually like have a plan and make that, sit down and actually get that done.
Yep.
There's a lot of things you said, and I want to actually like touch a few. The first thing I want to like talk about, you said you started an affiliate. Why did you start with that?
I mean, my back was up against the wall, man. 2007, I had congestive heart failure. February 2007. It took me about 6 months to get back up on my feet, and
wow, I
wasn't really all the way up on my feet. So my background prior to that, I had changed my major to business, and after I got out of college, and I was in the management field. So leading up to that, all the experience that I had was management. And so, what happened was, it's like, you're not going to be able to go back to a stressful job like that. You can, but if you go back to that, you're going to be putting yourself in major jeopardy, and you probably need to find something else to do that's not as stressful until you get, find yourself back. But it literally took me like 6 months to kind of feel normal, almost even. And I was searching for another way to provide for my family. It was just a hustle mentality of, I know that, because I had some dabblings with the internet, and I had sold some stuff on eBay before. So I had a taste of the internet, and I knew that there was an opportunity to make a living online, and I already believed that. And so for me, I just kind of made up my mind is I want to provide my family. I don't have any income coming in, because the job that I had just started when I got sick. I wasn't even 90 days. And so I didn't even have a job to go back to. And so for me, I needed to provide for my family. I had 2 kids at the time. I got 3 now. And, I needed to provide, and I just felt like the internet was going to be the way for me to do that. And I just kind of went all in on learning the internet stuff. Probably want to say like October of that year, I just kind of started doing all kind of stuff, building websites, and I learned how to build WordPress websites and all kind of stuff. I knew a little bit of coding already anyway, because I was a computer engineering major. So I understood it to some degree, and programming and stuff like that. But I just kind of went all in, and I just had to learn everything of how to build a landing page, how to, build a website, how to do, design. I was doing the Photoshop. I had to learn everything, because I was like, I got to figure out a way to make this internet thing work. And I stumped in the process of that, trying to learn these skills and get these, get hired or whatever the case may be. I ran across affiliate marketing thing and ClickBank and CPA networks and all of this stuff. And I was really fascinated, because the game was really just, if I could send you a customer and you pay me a commission, if that commission costs me less than what you pay me, I get to keep the difference. And I understand that game very well, because I'm, my background, I'm originally from Mississippi, but I grew up around certain things. So I understood the hustle, the street hustle. And I was like, okay, that's just a hustle. Like, I could do that. I think I could do that, And I didn't know traffic at first, but I was doing the affiliate thing. And, I got into the affiliate thing, and then I was struggling to get traffic, and I was on a forum, and somebody was like, just sign up with Google and, you know, put ads on AdWords, you know, put ads on Google, and you can do the traffic that way. And I already understood, okay, if they pay me a commission and okay, I got, you know, and that's kind of how I got started on the Google thing. And that was probably, I don't know, late 2007, you know. So probably by that February, I had spent maybe like I want to say it was like $3,000, you know, and I finally got a commission. And I was like, yo, this works. And I kind of lost, but it kind of came from out of necessity. I needed a way to provide for my family. I wasn't going to go back to management. I didn't want to go back to corporate America. I actually started my first company in 2005. I actually still have that company now that we run some of our revenue out of. But my original company, I started in 2005. So I already had a plan on being an entrepreneur, but it just got accelerated, you know, a lot faster. And I just decided, okay, if this is really true about what these doctors are saying and the stress and all of this, I'm not going to go back to that. I'm already sitting here and basically busted anyway. You know, we had maybe like $5,000 in our savings or something like that. And I just said, I'm going to go for it. I mean, just now or never, you know, and I'm gonna either burn out or I'm going to come up, you know, and if I burn through the money, I'll just go find a job. And that's kind of what my prayer was. It's like, you know, God, allow me to find a way to make this work. And if I spend all of our money in the process, then that's my sign that I got to go work. But I ended up, you know, getting that first commission. And then my brother and my uncle, I told them what I was doing, and they gave me money. It's like, all right, you know, keep going with it, you know. And that's what allowed me to keep going with it, because I had spent the little savings that we had, and my wife wasn't happy at all. But, you know, my brother and my uncle, you know, gave me money to kind of keep pushing. It wasn't a lot of money, maybe like $5,000 between the two of them. But that $5,000, you know, by that July, I had a, you know, $20,000 profit month. And it was kind of off after that. But that's really the backstory of what got me to the affiliate thing. It was just stumbling forward, really trying to find something. And I found some dots that connected. And it just, when I logged into Google the first time, I knew, like, I don't know how to explain it. I just had this feeling overcome me that just was like, this is what I want to do. I don't want to do anything else. I could see me doing this for a long time, because I could see the charts and the numbers and all of this stuff. And I felt at home, and I just knew I was in the right place. And I was like, I'm gonna go all in on this, even if you know, I'm gonna spend whatever I got. Like I said, my prayer was, if I spin out before I get a sign, I'm gonna go get a job. And literally, I got that $33 commission. I was almost spent out, basically. And because I had that sign, I was like, all right, I ain't got to go get no job. I can stay with this. And then I called my brother and my uncle. They were like, look, this is what happened, blah, blah, blah. But I think I'm on to something, this, that, and the third. And they know I never really called them about stuff. And so they was like, all right, cool. You know, all right, cool. So keep going with it, you know, but I ain't going to keep giving you, because my brother has always been like, you know, I'll help you, but I'm not going to enable you, you know, so you need to make it work. So I was able to get them to give me money to keep going. And that's kind of how it happened, man. Now here we are. Yep.
Right. That's an amazing story. I want to actually talk about, like, you know, your first $33, like, you know, you're spending $3,000. That's like a lot of money you're spending, you know. Are you like testing out, like when you're saying you're you know, testing out the environment, you're testing out headlines, you're testing out videos, you're testing out sales copy. What are you testing out, and what made that shift into what wasn't selling to a sale?
I was direct linking. So in affiliate marketing, direct linking means, you know, you're a product owner, I'm an affiliate, right? And I'm promoting your product, and you give me a link, and that link, when somebody clicks, it tracks that it came from me, and the person ends up on your website. So some people call a bridge page where they'll have the product, the affiliate, you know, where you send in the traffic, and then you sandwich a page in between where you capture the email and that kind of thing. I wasn't doing that. I was straight direct linking. So my mindset was, I'm going to focus on testing on the platform and I was running text ads and banner ads. So I was testing text ads, headlines and descriptions and different banners and stuff like that, but I wasn't putting anything in them. And so the offer was static. It was the offer pages were whatever they were. So my thing was, I'm going to test all of these other ways to see if I can connect the dots between what my ad is saying and where I'm sending these people. And then I just stuck my affiliate link. I just stuck my affiliate link in there. And then I just tested a bunch of versions like that. And then initially I was doing that with one offer, and I'm just like, man, I don't think I'm going to get this thing to work. So then I was like, maybe I should do like 2, let me do another one. And then it just became this idea of fail fast was, I don't even know why I picked that up from, but it made sense to me because of the engineering mindset background. Fail fast. It's like, if I launch 10 campaigns or 20 campaigns with 20 different offers, if I don't get a sale within a certain amount of time, I just kill it and move on. So that's what I ended up moving towards. I ended up just saying, I'm going to cycle through as many offers that I can, and I'm going to I think my basis then was probably like 3 or 5x whatever the payout. So if I'm pushing an offer, let's say it pays out $30, I'm not going to spend more than $150, probably like $90 to $150 at most before I say I'm going to kill this. And then I just cycled through different offers. And after I went through that, by the time I went through that $3,000, it was like 2 that jumped out, where I basically, this one product called Water for Gas, I'll never forget, because this is like late 2007, early 2008, and gas prices was like through the roof. It was like $5 a gallon, something crazy. And I was just like, man, I think people, and I made these text ads, and then I made these banner ads. They was really ugly, but I was like getting a lot of traffic off of these banner ads. And I was just like, yo, I'm gonna, and that's what ended up happening. I want to say I spent maybe like $100, and I made that $33 commission came from that. So I had spent $3,000, but on this particular offer, I had only spent like $100, and I made that $33 commission. And that's when I was like, and then there was another one, I think it was called Earth for Energy or something like that. Was basically, it was like these ClickBank products, those were the 2 that stood out. And then I ended up making money on that Earth for Energy one as well, but the Water for Gas product, man, that thing just took off. By the time I kept testing that offer, that April was probably the first time I made a profit, and then May and June I was going, and by July, probably 80% of the money that I made in July was off that one offer because I just was able to scale it. So my mindset wasn't, dealing with the landing pages and all of that kind of stuff. Honestly, I really didn't even know that stuff, to be honest. I didn't know what I didn't know. I just felt like I wanted to, I call it reducing the failure points. So points of failure is kind of the way, again, this is like engineering stuff. My background is like, the more things I put in their way, the more failure points that I have. So my thing is like, I need to go directly from the ad to the offer, because anything in between that is a failure point that I got to deal with. And I don't want to deal with that. I just want to test a bunch of different offers and see which one might pop. And that's basically what I did. And it's like fail fast. And it's like, I'm going to test this offer. I get to $100, $200, whatever the number I put associated with that. And then I just went through probably like 20. I went through like 20 offers to find those 2, and that's kind of how I ended up, going from there. So, that was what I was testing. I was just testing a bunch of different offers, trying to find one to work. Yeah. Okay.
And like, were you like testing a lot of different products at the same time as well? Like you just found a couple of products and you just testing everything?
Yeah. I mean, I had to spread it out because I ain't had the money like that. You know what I mean? So I had to go from, I probably didn't start doing Google ads to like October of 2007. But I was spending like $10 a day at first. I wouldn't even, it wasn't until maybe like December before I really start saying, all right, I'm going to test a bunch of different offers. So probably like that December, January, February is when I spent that $3,000, most of that money. And probably January and February was, $1,000 or so each. But then I just was, I couldn't do like 20 all at the same time, right? I'd do 2 or 3 at a time, and I would just cycle through them. That's kind of what I was doing. I was just cycling through them. I couldn't do them all at the same time, because if I'm spending, $100 on, like, I could spend $100 in like 3 days. You know what I mean? Some of them budgets might be $20 a day, and I'd spread it out over 5 days or whatever it was, right? So yeah, I would probably test no more than 3 or 4 offers at a time at the most, maybe probably like 2 or 3 at a time, because I just didn't have the money for that. But I had the mindset that I'm gonna just cycle through as many as I can with the money that I got. And if I run through all of that and I don't get no sign, I got to go get a job. So, but nah, I couldn't do it all at once. I ain't had the capital for that. So I just had to little bit by little bit go through them.
Okay. And how are you choosing the products that you found on ClickBank?
I mean, it was just a lot of sleepless nights, man, trying to figure out what the hell people buying. Excuse my language. Just trying to find out what people are buying. My mind was like, what are people already spending money on? Like, I wanna push things that people are already buying. So I just was doing a lot of research, forums, joining forums and, reading and Googling and, just trying to understand, like, what are people actually spending money on that I can actually promote? Because if people aren't buying it, I know I'm going to waste my money. So my thing is like, let me go find the most competitive. I mean, the water for gas thing was actually the first thing that I pushed outside of what I thought people were buying, honestly, because it just made sense to me. I was testing like a lot of supplement offers. I ended up getting on the ClickBank thing on kind of the end of the cycle through. And it just made sense. It just was like, gas is $5 or whatever it was a gallon. I think somebody would pay $47 if they thought that they could save money on gas. And it just kind of made sense. And the thing took off. But mostly I was just focused on what are people already buying, and I want to promote those things because I know that people are already spending money on this. I just want to get into the flow of money that's already flowing, right? So that's kind of how I was doing the research and trying to find stuff that fit that profile.
Okay, so where you're saying that you're seeing that if people are buying or not, are you like, how are you getting the numbers, like these many people like purchase this, or are you just like looking at like some reviews? There's a lot of reviews for this product.
The big one was if I searched. Am I still here?
Yeah, you're
still here. My lights is flickering. If I search Google and see a lot of ads, then I know money is being made. Because literally, like if you go to Google and you search a keyword and you see ads everywhere, littered up and down Google search result pages, it's money being made. Because I understood the game of Google and pay-per-click, and Google's a publicly traded company by then, So I understood like, okay, cost per click, Google, you can go and see what a click costs on a particular keyword. So I could see like, okay, these people are spending money on these keywords. Other people are spending money on these keywords. Somebody's making money. I don't think these people are just consistently spending. And they had these spy tools like SpyFu. I think SpyFu was out back then. I don't think they was like really early in the spying game. I think it was SpyFu. I don't know if that was another one. But you can go in there and you can see like, cause I think it was like $50 a month or whatever it was. So I signed up for that and I could see like these keywords and how much people are paying and how much traffic they're getting. So then I'm like, okay, these people are spending money. They got to be making money. No one's spending $30,000 a month, $50,000 a month or whatever it was, and they're not making any money, So clearly these things are making money. And that's kind of one of the ways that I was able to identify that, with just different tools that were on the market. And that's probably some other tools that I forgot about now that's probably just not around anymore. But it's always, a lot of tools early on in the game that can give you a lot of, even Google with Google was way more freely giving you information back then than they are now about, you know, different aspects too. So I could tell like where the money was being spent, and that's how I was able to know, you know, from that type of stuff.
Okay, so that makes so much sense. But it's amazing how we see you, you know, starting, you know, initially by spending that little amount that you have, and then how you're actually growing it. So it's really nice for the viewers as well, you know, who are actually trying to make, you know, a living online and trying to get, you know, the 10K a month. So it's really nice for them to see, you know, your journey, how you're getting up there. So, you know, you tested your stuff, and then from October to like February, you know, you're testing your stuff. You haven't really made a lot of money. How did you, and, you know, like now I can also see from the story that you told me that, you know, you're still spending money, and you're not profitable. At that point, is it painful?
Very, very. Because I got a wife and 2 kids, and I don't have any income coming in. My wife is holding it down. So I'm spending the last money that we have. You know what I mean? Like our savings, I'm spending that money. My wife is paying the bills and keeping everything going, you know, and I'm taking the money that we had saved and I'm spending it on this. It's very painful because there were nights where you question yourself, you know, especially, you know, having a family and having children and feeling like maybe I'm taking food out of my kid's mouth because I got this crazy idea, you know, but I just felt like I was right, you know, and I had to really sit down with myself and say, do I want to look back and wish I would have did this? Or do I want to do it and then just deal with the consequences? And I was so strongly believed that I could do this because I'm seeing all of these other people in these forums and all of these guys talking about how they killing it and they making all of this money. And I was like, I know these dudes ain't smarter than me. You know what I mean? And I'm like, I can do this. I know I can do this. You know, but the pain was really in the idea of you're spending money not knowing where this is going, and you're having to be accountable to someone else and other people. And that was really challenging. That's very hard. There were nights where I cried. There were nights where I questioned myself. But I would always come back to, you know, I have to do this. And I made a pact, you know, with God, and was like, if I spend this money and I don't get any sign that this is gonna work, I gotta go get a job. And I was intent on holding that to myself, being true to that for myself, that if I don't get anything, I gotta go get a job, and I gotta do something else, because this must not be what God has in store for me. And I got that $33 commission, and that was the signal. You know, because I had even told my wife the same thing. It's like, look, if I get to this point where I spend this money and I don't get anything, you know, I'm gonna go get a job. You know, and she was like, okay. You know, that what really got her to be like, okay. She was like, okay, that's fine. I was like, I know we probably gonna be spent out or whatever the case may be. But my brother had already told me too. He was like, yo, if you need something, let me know, because he knew what my circumstance was. And I was like, man, I'm gonna try to figure it out. If I call you, I really need you. And he was like, cool. My uncle had told me the same thing. So I knew I had that in my back pocket, that if I spent out, I could go find a job, and then I could get one of them to kind of help me out as we kind of bridge that gap of me getting to working and getting money coming in, and then I could pay them back or whatever the case may be. But they wasn't going to give me money to just enable me. The thing was like, if I needed help. So I knew I could go to my brother and be like, hey, man, I need $5,000 or $3,000 or whatever the amount is. I got this job. It's not going to blah, blah, blah. And he would have supported that, you know. But even with the thing, too, I was telling him what I was doing. You know, he was very supportive. You know, my uncle, they were very supportive. So having people in your corner, you know, is a big deal. But it was very painful, man. Very, very painful. Probably more so than I can even admit or even get into, just because it wasn't about me. It was like I had 2 kids, I'm married, and I'm accountable for these people. And I had been up to that point. I was the breadwinner. I had always been the breadwinner. Obviously, I'm the breadwinner now, but like I had been, my wife, you know, married me because she believed that I was going to be, you know, she believed in me. You know, I didn't have nothing when we got together, but I told her, like, I'm going to do it, and she believed that, you know. So So to have the tables turn where now I got to depend on her, I felt less than a man. I felt, it was a lot of emotions, man, that it was very painful, but my thirst for, or just my belief in this working was so great. Now I was willing to risk it all, man. I feel like I didn't have any other options, to be honest with you, man. I felt like if I don't make this internet thing work, I'm going to have to go and work a job and just be a regular, average, ordinary guy, you know? And that scared me, man. And I was just like, you know what? I'll deal with the consequences, the fallout. I got to take this opportunity. I had to do it, but pain it was very painful, very, very painful.
Yeah, you know, that's awesome. You know, you had so much family support, you know, even though, you know, you didn't have much success early on, which is hard when you don't have that family support. I want to talk about, you know, so you have like 2 points. You have like, one is like being successful in a job, which you don't have right now. And then you're saying that on the other side was just being a regular guy working 9 to 5. It seems like that was such a huge gap. Like the pain going back to work was so not worth it that you were ready to risk everything for that. And then you don't even have that. Like why? Like, I don't know. How did you
ask any entrepreneur that question and they'll probably, I don't know. It's just that was just the scariest thing for me, was just like, you know, I already had decided I was going to be an entrepreneur. Ever since I was young, I knew I wanted to be. But I made a decision in 2005 to incorporate my company, and I didn't even know what I was going to do. I was like, consulting is going to go in the name because I'm going to do something consulting, you know. And I just knew that I had already started plotting my exit from corporate in a job and management and all of this stuff at that point. So leading up to that point, I was saving money to put myself in that position. And then at the end of 2005, I actually quit my job. My second child was born, my oldest daughter, in November 1st. November 30th, I left that job because I had saved this money to start my business that I incorporated. And I failed miserably because I was doing some eBay stuff and I had some other things that was going at the time. But, you know, that first half of 2006, I failed miserably. And I burned through all of the cash that I had saved like really quickly. And so what happened then was I had to go back into the workforce about halfway through 2006, which then led from that about 7 or 8 months prior to the heart failure, I went through like 3 jobs, you know what I mean? Because I was just kind of started one thing and then I didn't like the thing and then I went to this other thing and then the other job, I liked it, but I got recruited by another company from that job. So by the time I left the second job and went to the third one, that was the last job that I had before I got sick. But I was literally, I started there in like December of 2006. And February, you know, halfway through February is when I had heart failure. I wasn't even 90 days. I think I was like 15 or 20 days short of being 90. And so they didn't have to keep me on as a manager. I had to get that 90-day threshold to keep my benefits and all of that, and I didn't. So I basically was out of a job when I got sick. They didn't keep me. My benefits didn't kick in. Luckily, my wife had a job, and I had to go off of her, you know, insurance and everything like that. So, but yeah, man, I just was already decided that I didn't want to do that anyway. And so for me, I just was like, there's no way I'm going to make this. I got to make this. Like, I don't have any other choice. Either I want to go back to working for somebody or I can take this opportunity now where I'm at rock bottom. You know, now is the best time, I think, for me to take this risk because worst thing that can happen, I can always go get a job. You know, that's kind of how I thought about it. And so the pain of that was just too great, you know, and I just, you know, I was just like, at all costs, I'm going to avoid going back and working for somebody, you know.
And like, I want to like ask you that, like, why is like working for someone else and just being a regular person, why was it so painful for you?
I think I wanted freedom. I wanted control over my future. I didn't see a path to. I had a guy I met. He was an Asian guy, and he was driving. This guy would be riding around in this beat up Honda Accord, and people would always talk about how wealthy this guy was, and I was just like, because where I'm from, we wear our wealth. You know what I mean? If you ain't got the big chain on, you ain't got the fancy car with the rims on it, the big house. You know what I mean? Which is stupid stuff that I did after I started making money. But we wear and really people that look like they got a lot of money is probably not really wealthy. You know what I mean? They just look like they got big chains and all of this stuff. Usually aren't the wealthy people, but I didn't know this. And the guy was like, basically, if you want to be wealthy, show me someone that's wealthy that works for someone. And when you can do that, call me. And I could never find that. And so that always stuck with me, and so I always felt like I wanted to be the one to break the generational curse. I mean, I didn't come from poverty, so I don't want to act like I was just like, I'm from Mississippi. I'm from a little small college town. I come from a working class family. I could go back to Mississippi now, and I got family members and people and stuff. And, folks, I take you to my family and be like, hey, what's going on? All these cars pulling up and, houses sitting on a bunch of land and all of this stuff. So I wasn't from poverty, but it wasn't given anything. You know what I mean? Everything I had to get, I had to earn it on my own. Like, my uncle or brother or whatever, they might give, might help you a little bit, but it wasn't like, no, we just gonna set you up. It wasn't none of that going on. Like, if you like my house? Like my uncle told me, you like this? You need to go work and get you one. You know what I'm saying? My cousin pull up in a nice car, a nice whip. It's like, man, you like this? He's like, if you work hard enough, you can get you one, type of thing. So it was always understood that if you want this, you're gonna have to go get it. You're gonna have to go figure out how to get it for yourself. So I didn't come from poverty. I come from a working class family, but I had to, and so that just kind of, I always wanted to be, no one's in my family is wealthy. They're not poor, but it's not like we got legacy, and so I wanted to break that curse. I wanted to be, that's what I wanted to be. I wanted to be that for my family. I want to be that person, and I carry that with me even to this day. I want to be the one. That's what I wanted to be. And I just knew that I had to make my exit at some point to that, but that was really what was driving me. And so I just saw this opportunity and I just like, I had to take it, but I wanted to be wealthy. And I don't think there's anything wrong with working for people, because you gotta understand, even in my career from 2007 to now, there have been points in time where I went and worked for someone because I understood the value of what that experience is gonna give me to help me achieve my objective. But at that time, I was just purely on this guy, this mindset was, I don't know anyone wealthy. If you can show me someone that's wealthy, that works for someone, I'll wait. I mean, obviously there are CEOs and things like that make large sums of money, but, very rarely will you find a wealthy person that worked for somebody, and so for me, that kind of stuck with me, and I was just like, man, I got to chart my own path, so that's what it is.
Okay, so when you decided to become an entrepreneur and you wanted to acquire wealth, did you how did you let go? Actually, did you have any incident at work that said, hey, I don't want to work for anyone else?
How many times? You know what I'm saying? I got so many stories of that. It's ridiculous. Most of the time I had to think about my family in order to humble myself, and not do something stupid. That's been several times where I've walked off of jobs because it's like, I don't have to take this. You know what I mean? And I would walk off. And then my wife would be like, what is wrong with you? Whatever. And then, we'd go through this roller coaster and I'd have to find another job because the money would get funny and stuff like that or whatever. But man, I had so many of those instances. But I think having a family, man, really would force me to grow up, because I had a hustle mentality, man. I had so many hustles growing up, I can't even count them anymore. I always had a hustle to make money. That was one thing my dad taught me. He was like, a man without money in his pocket is not a real man. You know, if you don't know how to get up and go get some money, you ain't really a real man. At least that's the way my dad described it. I get other people might not agree with that, but, you know, but I believe that. And so for me, you know, I had so many hustles, man. I've always had a hustle, a side hustle, a main hustle, another hustle, you know. And so I just, you know, that was the gift and the curse, you know, because, you know, having a family, it made me realize I can do all of this, you know, but I got to have something consistent. You know what I mean? I got to have something consistent because my son, you know, he consistently is hungry. You know, my daughter is consistently hungry. My light bill is consistent, you know, and so when you start having these responsibilities, I had to start realizing, like, I need to be consistent. And then luckily for me, I actually graduated from college because of my grandmother. I had promised her I would do, because I had actually sat out for like a year. And then my grandmother got sick. She had a stroke. And I had promised her that I would graduate. And so that would really make me go back to college. Because I was like, college sucks. You know what I'm saying? College, I ain't learning, you know. But like, because I had made that promise to her, I went. But that would really would allow me to be like, okay, now that I got this family and this, that, and like, I got to get something that's consistent. I got to get, you know, and that's kind of how I ended up getting into management and all of that, because I needed a consistent paycheck, and I needed to be able to save money to be able to do this entrepreneurial thing. I understood the failure of entrepreneurship, you know, when you don't have money to invest in building your business. So my thing was like, okay, I got to work, and that's going to give me two things. I'm going to have consistent income to take care of my family, and I'm going to be able to save to be able to do what it is that I want to do. So I had to be humbled in a lot of instances where I didn't want to put up with whatever it was, but I had to be like, bite my tongue or whatever, because it's like, I need this job right now because I don't have the money to go do what it is that I really want to do. And not only that, I need this money because I got bills and I got responsibilities. So that made me really grow up. Having a family was like, yo, you gotta do what you gotta do to make sure you take care of your responsibilities. And that's what really slowed me down a lot, to be honest.
Okay, so going back, you know, like to what you mentioned earlier, you know, by the amazing stories, I want to like talk to you about, like, you know, when you were saying that when you were building up your company, you were testing out, you know, marketing online with the affiliates and these offers and stuff. A lot of the time, this stuff is kind of boring. You know, there's a lot more fun stuff you can do, like, I don't know, like go to a barbecue or just watch a movie and stuff. How are you able to make those sacrifices and just focus on doing the boring work and saying that it would pay off later?
I don't see it I don't see it that way, man. I never seen it that way. You know, success is a game to me, you know, and I like a challenge, you know, and I don't know, man. I never saw it that way. I just, you know, obviously I indulge in, you know, I hang out or whatever and things like that, and I have to unwind from this stuff. But for the most part, man, I kind of was obsessed with success early on. And then once I saw a bit of success, I was being driven by the ups and downs of this business, you know, or any entrepreneur tell you, you know, how often they fail. There's a lot of failure in what we do. So you could get, you know, a great situation, and then something crazy happens, and then you got to reinvent yourself, or you got to rebuild, or, you know, and so once I tasted a bit of success, you know, that gave me a lot of confidence that I could do it. And then it was more about being obsessed with being consistent, you know. And then I went from being obsessed with being consistent to being obsessed with being great at what I do. And then I went from being from that to saying, now how do I turn this into wealth? Because I figured out how to make money, but I haven't figured out how to become wealthy. Because making money is, you know, I can make money. I'm good enough at this point. I feel like I don't never have to worry about making money in this industry again. That's just kind of how I feel. But I have not. But the wealth building has escaped me, and so now I'm just kind of obsessed with that. But even in lieu of that, going through the process of being wealthy and becoming an investor and making bad investments and all kinds of stuff, you know, I realized my pockets weren't deep enough. So I said, okay, I need a lot more money than I thought to really be able to support the lifestyle that I want my family to have and then be able to play this investment game on a long game, because you still got to, responsibilities and, and there's a lot going on with kids and about to go to college and this, that, and the third, and employees and salaries and, whatever. So I have a lot of more responsibilities, not just in my immediate family. I got a lot of other responsibilities. And so it's like, okay, I really need to sit down and just focus on building my company to a point where I can remove myself from it, but it still functions, for the most part without me, and it still generates revenue to give me the freedom that I need to kind of go and play this kind of investor game. But I never really seen it as I think there are times where I had to sacrifice because my wife doesn't see it my way, or my kids don't see it my way. And so I don't think it's necessarily a sacrifice in my mind, but I understand that how that affects the people that I care about. And when I'm so tied up in what I'm doing that it's affecting them to a certain point, then I have to take that into consideration and understand, like, okay, I got a balance between what I want to be doing and how this is going, what I'm doing is affecting the people around me. So I had to find that balance, and it changes over time, because they got to the point now where my kids, my youngest is 12, my oldest is 17, and my older daughter is 14. So my two youngest girls, 14 and 12, and like, they don't, they love their dad, but like, they can function in their own environment without, like, they're not really paying attention to me like that, versus, when they was 2, 3, 5 years old, like, I can't get away from them, but now they kind of like, Dad, go do whatever you're doing, get away, type of thing. Like, they on their whole, they become their own little individual, whatever. So now as they're gotten older, I have a lot more time to kind of be, focused. But I never really seen it as a sacrifice in my mind, but I understand why other people do see it that way. But, for me, I'm just kind of obsessed with, certain aspects of this game. And then also for me, like, I love numbers and data and patterns and pattern recognition and analytics. And, I really, man, I'm to me, it's like, I'm going to do this the rest of my life. You know what I mean? Like, if I can look at numbers and data and patterns and study them and figure out cool stuff and extract things from them that can make money, like, it's so fun to me, but other people be like, man, that's boring. And it's like, I understand that too, but, yeah, I don't really see it that way. I guess I don't really know how to describe that other than, in my mindset, I don't really see it that way. For me, it's just more about what other people that are around me that I care about, how they take it, and I have to adjust according to them, but for me, like, I could do this all day, every day, which is for the most part what I do. But being a family man, I got to keep in mind that, I got family and friends and siblings and, children and wife and all of this kind of stuff.
Okay, so when you were actually focusing on, like, actually building this thing, a lot of the times, when it's not working out, you really, like, most entrepreneurs were very hard on ourselves. Like, hey, you tell ourselves, hey, this is wrong, it's not working, we're not doing well. Were you, like, rewarding yourself and, like, patting yourself in the back sometimes when you were, like, making these little successes?
Man, I don't do that enough. That's one of the things that I don't do enough. Cause I very rarely get fixated on what I did. It's always the next thing. That was like, even like when you study like the Michael Jordans and the Kobe Bryants and the Muhammad Ali's and the, the greats. It's always like the next thing. They're always the next thing. It's like, that's great. Okay. Oh, I get a trophy for that. Okay, cool. And they go forward. You know what I mean? So for me, I don't do that enough. I should do that more. I mean, I've been reminded by a lot of people, that I respect, like even my peers, guys that are, on my level or even at a higher level, if you will, if you want to call it that, just in terms of probably more so like a revenue thing. Some of my peers that are making, more money than me, they'll say little things like that to me about how, you're going too hard, or you need to take time to celebrate your wins and stuff like that. But I don't do that nearly enough. But because I'm always just like, what's the next thing? Like, whatever the biggest thing that I did, I want to do something bigger than whatever that was. Like, the biggest thing that I did can't be the biggest thing I ever do. if I'm living. You know what I mean? Now, if I did the biggest thing that I did and I die tomorrow, then that was the biggest thing that I did. But as long as I'm alive, whatever the biggest thing or most successful thing that I did, I'm not going to rest with that being true, you know? So I'm off to the next thing. So I'm always about what I'm doing and not what I used to do. I tell people that a lot. That's one of the consulting, coaching things that I talked about when we was early in the conversation. One of the challenges with that is like, you know, I don't ever want to sell off of what I used to do. I want to, you know, people pay me money because of what I do and not what I used to do. I'm not, don't give me money to show you what I did. I'm going to take your money and feel good about it because I can show you what I'm doing and I can show you how to do what I'm doing. So for me, I don't really celebrate like that. You know, I'm just not that dude, but I should. I definitely should do it more. I don't do it enough.
So what's something that you're very proud of that in one of your successes that you've had recently? And then you can mention, you know, maybe a success that you want to attain in the future. That's very close.
Man, there's several of them. I mean, obviously, that interview with Brian, I didn't, you know, Brian had privately, you know, gave me some props, but, you know, to hear him publicly, you know, very rarely do you get that in this industry. I've helped a lot of people be successful in the background that you probably would never know about because they're not going to talk about it. And that's okay. It is what it is. As long as we know what's going on, that's all that matters. But to get public, to get someone to publicly, you know, I don't know the word that I'm using to
appreciate.
Yeah, appreciate or just like give you props, you know, about how you help them, you know, in their career. You know, to me, man, there's nothing more satisfying, you know, because, you know, I'm on a mission now. I want hundreds of stories like that. And I think early in my career, I got sidetracked with making a lot of people rich and not becoming as rich in the process, you know, getting peanuts in the grand scheme of things. And you know, that was a trigger moment for me where one of my large, you know, big successes, this company, Organify, I talk about them a lot, and I'm at a point now where I don't want to talk about them really anymore. Not because I don't dislike them. I really love them. I love what they do. I had a great experience working with them, but I want something bigger than that. You know what I mean? And Organify is doing extremely well. I helped them scale Organify from, you know, very small to, you know, 3.5 years, we went from almost nothing to about 30 million in revenue. And since then they've gone on. I haven't worked with them now in about it's probably been about 2 years, probably over 2 years now, but, you know, they've surpassed that in annual revenue at this point. What their numbers are, I don't know, but they're doing extremely well. And I felt like I was a pivotal part of helping them reach that. And so, you know, my goal is like, I want to be a pivotal in something, you know, 10 times bigger than that, you know, but that was a big one. And like I say, just anytime, you know, there's a lot of other instances where I've helped people become really successful that isn't talked about. And, you know, I'm not here to, you know, talk about, you know what I mean? Like the Organify thing is out there. So, you know, for me to bring them up, that's a known thing, you know, it's out there, you know, so it is what it is. I mean, Jamel, who's the CEO now, you know, I had a testimonial from him on my website of him telling, you know, kind of talking about, this, you know, this guy helped us or whatever the case may be. So, you know, then obviously Brian, and then, you know, there's a bunch of other testimonials, and, you know, I got a bunch of people who have publicly, you know, told it, but there's a lot of people privately that I've helped too, you know, do substantial things that isn't out there, and isn't my job to, you know, put it out there, if you will, because I'm not really, you know, clout chasing or nothing like that. But, you know, I do value those people like Brian who will speak on it themselves, so I don't have to be the one talking about, oh yeah, Dean Graziosi hired me and I helped them blow up their YouTube. You know what I mean? Like, that just ain't my thing. You know what I mean? I know what happened, but, you know, I don't do that. So to see Brian actually speak on it, you know, is way more powerful than me walking around talking about it. You know what I mean? Because a lot of people in our space, they know their name, Dean. So when I start tossing Dean's name around like that, you know, people will listen and pay attention to that. But, you know, I don't want to be the guy, you know, trying to clout chase or ride on somebody's name or whatever the case may be. I was just one piece of a bigger puzzle. I mean, Dean's thing is way bigger than Tommie. There was a lot there that allowed myself and Brian to help Dean do that didn't have nothing to do with us. You know what I mean? So, yeah, man, I would say just like public acknowledgement from people who, you know, just tell the truth about what the experience was. And you know, I appreciate that stuff. And, you know, now I'm just kind of building. I have a couple of investments that I'm working on now that are doing very well. I worked at this company called 500 Startups. I wasn't an employee. I was a contractor, but they are a matter of fact, I'm drinking out of a 500 thing right now. Shout out 500 Startups. They're a VC firm based in Silicon Valley. They're the most active VC in the world because they do their deal sizes. So they got thousands of companies in their portfolio. But I spent probably about 2 years, you know, really good, you know, kind of back and forth Silicon Valley. That was a great experience for me. I learned a ton. It took me to another level. And it's a really unique thing. I'm very proud of it as well because it's very unique for somebody, A, that looks like me, somebody, B, that comes from where I come from, and to be in this game on the direct response, you know, kind of internet marketing, if you will, world, to then be exposed to this type of world where not very many people of our background are in that world. Very unique thing, position for me. And I'm really proud of it more than anything because I fit into the culture when I think I wouldn't. And the lasting relationships that I developed with people that don't look like me, that I value, who also value what I have to bring to the table. It just gave me a different perspective on a lot of things because, you know, sometimes you spend your time around a lot of people that look like you, act like you, think like you, or whatever the case may be. And then you get around people that are, you know, you seemingly don't have anything in common with, you know, can be scary. And it was just a huge moment for me just in terms of growth where, honestly, I ended up finding out I had a lot in common with them. It just was, you know, maybe we was different countries or maybe we different nationalities or maybe we like different types of food or maybe, you know, sexual orientation is like a bunch of different versions of it where it's like, even in spite of all of that, you find these people and it's like, holy cow, it's like, this person is so freaking different from me, yet we got so many things in common. And I built some great relationships out of that. And it was an amazing experience for me. So I'm really proud of that. You know, I'm really proud of it.
So yeah, that's a lot of success stories to have, you know, under your belt. I want to go over like, you know, just a couple of points. So, you know, when you started working for Organify, helping them scale from 0 to 30 million, like normally what you do is like, for example, you tell them a plan, like create these like 10 videos. We're going to use these 10 videos and we're going to put it on YouTube and we're going to put ads on this to get promotions.
Yeah, I do want to clarify one thing. I probably said that wrong. Probably just kind of how it came out, but Organify wasn't really at 0. Well, Organify, the company, was at 0, if you will. But Fit Life TV is, so Drew Canoli had Fit Life TV, and they were already selling digital programs. So it wasn't like a startup, you know, they just kind of pivoted, you know, from the digital products to the physical products, from the Fit Life TV brand to the Organify brand. So I do want to clarify that. So they wasn't just like 0, but it was like compared to where they at now from where they were when I was working with them and when they were doing that, Organify wasn't existing really. Well, I think maybe they had incorporated it, but they wasn't doing anything with it yet. But they were already doing their digital programs, and they had some traction on that. We was able to take that and use that with the Organify brand. But to answer your question, it kind of started out where, Drew was already doing video, so it was like a slam dunk for me with the skill set that I had with the YouTube ads, because when they hired me, it wasn't a YouTube ads thing. It was really just one of my clients that I had just made a ton of money for. We were in Traffic and Conversion Summit, and he introduced me to Drew and was like, yo, this guy right here is, he just was bigging me all the way up, and I had just made this guy a crap ton of money, and, he just bigged me up, and him and Drew were cool. And he was just basically like, hey, man, if you're going to do the paid traffic thing and really figure it out, you need to hire this guy, like right there, like right on the spot. And so I think Drew kind of, took that from him and was just kind of like, well, if this guy's saying that, because I think he had a lot of respect for him, and probably still do. If this guy's saying that about this guy, it's he's a quick decision maker, like myself. Like I'm pretty, like once I decide to do something, I'm pretty swift in deciding and doing. And I think it was just in that moment that he decided he wanted to work with me because of the way, I was positioned to him. So, but it wasn't like come and do these YouTube ads. It was just kind of like, because for him, we was doing YouTube ads, we was doing native and display ads and like all of this different stuff. And we blew that thing up. We probably did 8 figures in less than a year with that particular project. And so it was just kind of an alley-oop, really, with them. So when I started working with them early on, I realized that what they were doing wasn't going to work, and I told them, and I didn't even know about Organify at first. They were talking about these digital programs and this, that, and the third. And so we ended up taking a hiatus because they had some stuff, and they was like, yo, look, we got some things we got to work out. We need to take a break, and then we can come back together. And probably about 2-3 months after that, they hit me up and was like, wanted to talk, and they was like, we got this thing, Organify, da-da-da-da. And they started kind of breaking it down and showing me what it was, and I was like, that's it. I was like, this is going to be crazy. We're going to do 20 million, and they was like, 20. I was like, we're going to do 20 million. If y'all listen to me, we're going to, and it was just like really exciting. And when I came into it, it was like they were already making videos. They had a channel and all of this. And it's like I got these skills with YouTube ads, and it already made sense. And then one of the things was copywriting was a challenge. And it's like, we got to bring a copywriter. So the same guy that introduced me to Drew, I was like, yo, I got a guy that we work together. We just made a bunch of money together. I think you should hire this guy to do the copy, because that's what's going to be a big deal for us to be able to do, because y'all got everything else. And so what they decided to do was a VSL, a video sales letter. So between all of the videos that Drew was already making and these video sales letters that they were cranking out, I was able to take all of that and plug it in the YouTube ecosystem, and it kind of just took off from there. And actually, speaking of that too, Russell, because I see Russell's books in the background, he was the one that originally helped them with their funnel on that as well. So we had a really strong funnel out of the gate. These guys were already making these videos. I'm just saying, hey, for these ads, do XYZ, 1, 2, 3, ABC, with what you already doing, and give it this flavor, and they were just cranking them out. I mean, gosh, my time working with them, dude, we tested over 1,000 videos, man. And a lot of people be like, holy crap. And I'm like, yeah, because they was already had a machine. They was already doing that. So it wasn't something that I had to make them do. It was like, just give them some game on, for these ads, let's do these things. And then they just was like, okay. And then it's like, boom, what else you need? And we kind of just ran with it like that. But I think we probably started out with 10 or 20 videos, to be honest, because they already had a bunch of videos, and some of the videos we could repurpose for ads, and then they end up making some new ones. So out of the gate, I had a lot of creative to work with, and that just played in my favor.
Okay, so for these videos, are you telling them to use them as content pieces, and you're telling them what type of videos to make, or you're just using them based on just to have different types of videos for different environments?
Yeah, I mean, it was a combination of things. It was like, here goes some ideas I want you guys to make. And so they had an in-house copywriter, David, who I was working with, that would do the scripting. So David and I would bump heads. I would have these ideas, And David would take those ideas and form them into a script. And then he could take that script and then they would shoot it, you know. So I was lucky in the regard of blessed, or however you want to say it, in the regard that I had someone who, you know, I wasn't a script writer. I wasn't at that time, like, you know, now my team, we can do all of that stuff, but I wasn't really, it was just more or less like I have these ideas, and as we bumping heads on it, it's like, I think it's a better idea, because David would just give this feedback, and I was just like, I think it's a better idea that, or maybe it was David's idea, maybe it was somebody else's idea, to be honest with you, I don't know, but it was like, it's probably better that I come up with these ideas because I understand the framework for the ads, and I give these ideas to David, and then David can form that into, you know, a script, because they were already doing that, you know. So all he had to do was just kind of take his process and kind of sprinkle what I'm talking about on it, and then the same handed off. So it was really more seamless. By the time Drew went to do his thing, it was kind of seamless. So it was a bit of that. And then we were also taking content videos and repurposing those for ads, because you could basically take a content video and chop it and slice it, or whatever the case may be. You know, you could cut it and put pieces together. There's a lot of ways you can take content that already exists and reformulate them into ads. So we had that in our bag, because we had editors, and they were already heavy in video. They were already like super heavy in video. So then it became, okay, now what I got to do is get with the editing team and say, you know, take these videos, here's the idea that I have with them, and you guys take them, and then boom, and then they take them and repurpose them. You know, or then we take content pieces and we shoot intros. You know, we shoot 5 to 10 second intros and then put them in front of it, you know. So I could take a content piece and put like 5 introductions on it, and then now I got 5 versions of, you know, and it was just like all this crazy things that I had available to me, because they kind of had this infrastructure already that I got to tap into. And so it was a variation of things. And so out of the gate, I just had a lot to work with from the beginning and all the way through.
Okay, so these videos that you're creating, are you creating like more information videos? Like, you know, they're talking about more about the product, they're like giving testimonies about the product, and you're just like telling them, you know, how to, like, you know, create these different types of videos like this?
Yeah, testimonials were huge. Well, we take, you know, customers' perspective. We take benefit-driven videos, feature benefit type stuff, story-based videos where, you know, it's kind of like, it's like the outcome, I call it the outcome script, basically. It's like, you know, everyone's selling an outcome. People buy outcomes, right? People buy results. People spend money because they want a particular thing for their money. The thing is worth more than the money. That's why they part with it, right? So the thing is, like, what's the outcome that this product gives you, or gives our customers are buying this product because they want this result, this outcome. So a lot of times we would create videos around that where, you know, right out of the gate, the whole concept of the video is how to get X, insert outcome, how to get insert outcome. That's the bait. That's to keep them watching. And then we tell a story of how we were able to get that, or we explain the process of getting that. And then you carry, and then you close the gap in all of that to your product being that solution. So it's kind of like outcome. Then there's either a story or a process, you know, like a how-to video, because that's what a lot of people go to do. I think this is one of the times where it's like 70% of the people on YouTube are watching how-to videos at that time. It's probably a little different now, but like this is like 2015. It was like, I think I heard the CEO of YouTube say that, you know, at a conference like VidCon or something. And I was like, oh, okay. So then it became, you know, very beginning, we focus on this outcome of, you know, how to get this outcome. And then we plug in, you know, this kind of how to do that. And then our product is either the solution or the shortcut to it, you know. And so we just made a bunch of versions of those. So it's a lot of different variations on them. But yeah, we did all of those things. Everything you're talking about, we did all of that stuff.
Okay, so you shared a lot of goals, so thank you for that.
Yeah.
So it seems like you're creating more content first and information and storytelling and stuff before you try to sell anything.
Yeah, you could say that. I think it varies depending on, because you got to understand we're selling a product. There's not, so like a webinar funnel, you're not selling the, whatever you're selling, like the webinar, you might be selling $1,000 thing or $2,000 thing. You don't sell that in the video. You sell the class or the training or the webinar, you know, that they signing up for is what you're selling, right? So yeah, you're selling in your video, but the selling is based on what's the action, right? Because if it's like download this free thing, because I'm gonna put you in my email follow-up sequence, then the thing you're selling in the video is the thing that you want them to opt in for. If it's a webinar, it's the webinar. If it's an actual product, the thing about selling an actual product, particularly physical product, straight away, and you can do this with digital products as well, you tend to do need more content, more story, more stuff like that to really engage the people. Because the first thing you got to do is get their attention, and then you got to engage them. And in the process of doing both of those, there has to be relevance to what your ultimate, you know, action that you want them to take is. So you're doing a lot more of that when you selling straight up versus like, you know, sell later, where it's like register for my webinar and then you're going to watch it. Then I'm going to sell you something, or sign up for this free thing, ebook, whatever. Right. And then I'm going to sell you something after the fact. But, you know, you're always selling whatever the main action that you is. And the more commitment related to that action, the more I think it takes persuasive conversation that is going to take to get people to take that particular action.
Right. So I'm going to be studying Organify like very much on YouTube and
right.
A lot of details.
You should. I don't run their YouTube anymore, but they still doing really well.
Yeah. So yeah, thank you for that. So for in terms of like strategy for YouTube strategy, just for the audience, for them to understand, like when you place an ad on a video, like are you doing it in the beginning, in the middle, at the end? Are you doing it on your own videos or on other people's videos?
So there's two ways to run them. There's in-stream, there's this discovery. So when you run in-stream, those are the ones that play before another video you're about to watch and you have to skip. So that's one way. And then you have the discovery ads. These are the ones that the ad shows in the recommended section on YouTube on the right-hand side, where you'll see like an ad sitting there and you click on it and it take you to a video. So there's two different ways to run them. Now, when I ran Organify and a couple of other ones that I did prior to Organify, where we did, you know, like 7 figures, we were running more of a VSL model where we would upload the entire video. And then we'd run what's called discovery ads. Now, they used to be called in display. So what happens is somebody see that recommended video, that ad sitting in those recommended videos, and they click that, it take them to our video on YouTube. But that video really is a 30, 40, 50, one guy had an hour and 10-minute VSL, where it's basically a persuasive video selling. We ran that. I ran that with a lot of success early. But the thing that changed the game was the algorithm, the artificial intelligence really changed the game, because when Google came out with TrueView for Action, some people call it Target CPA, which is just a bid strategy. Target CPA is a bid strategy. It's how to bid to get the algorithm to show your ad, right? This is what you're bidding. But the actual unit is called TrueView for Action. And these are ran through in-stream. And so what happens is the algorithm, you can leverage the algorithm to go find people to take the action that you want. So if I want a webinar registration, I would place a conversion action that denotes when somebody registers for my webinar, when they land on the next page, there's a pixel there that says, you know, webinar registration. That goes back into Google. The algorithm recognizes that the action that I wanted happened. So now what happens is the smarter the algorithm gets, the artificial intelligence gets about the action that you want, the more likely it'll go find it for you. And that was a complete game changer. So what happened in 2017, 2018, we went from predominantly doing the discovery or in-display type ads, was probably like 80-20, maybe 20% in-stream, 80% display, to now we do about 80 to 90% in-stream to discovery now, because TrueView for Action leverages the artificial intelligence. And when that thing is smart, it's really good. I mean, it's up there. I mean, Facebook's is great as well, but Google is right there with Facebook. And so we want to leverage the algorithm now. So we run a lot of in-stream now because of the ability to use the artificial intelligence to our favor. So that's, probably a longer answer, but it changed, and so now we run heavy. I would say at least 80%, maybe closer to 90%, definitely 90 on some of our accounts, but I would say definitely over 80% of what we run are in-stream TrueView for Action type campaigns, because we can bid, based on what that action is worth. A webinar registration, okay, it's worth $5 or $7 or $10 or $3 or whatever your price point is. You can tell that, hey, I want to pay $5 for this action, and then it'll go and try to deliver that to you, and it works amazing.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing so much of that knowledge. I can't wait to go and apply this after this interview. You shared a lot of golden nuggets, and I want to say for my audience, they obviously they want to do really well in terms of wealth, but a lot of my audience are starting out and they want to have an online consistent income of around 10K. So for the people that are just starting out, how would you advise them to get started in YouTube?
I would say if you got money to spend and you can buy the data, start there. If not, I would say, I would try to find, if you want to go down if you want to go down this lane, it depends. Like if you want to make a career out of it, then I would say work for somebody. If you want to use it for your business, then I think you just have to test it. And even if it's, $10 a day, $20 a day. Obviously there's courses and all of that like that or whatever. And I'm not selling any, I haven't sold a course in some time, but, ain't nothing like doing it. You know what I mean? So I would say either you need to spend some money, whatever is comfortable for you, or if you want to make a career out of it, I would definitely say you probably should find somebody that you can work for, or, somebody that already got clients. If you don't know how to get clients, find somebody that do got clients and offer to help them. I had a guy work for me for over a year, Vinny. And Vinny kind of came to me and was like, yo, I'll work for you for free for either 60 or 90 days or whatever it was. And, you can decide if I'm worth paying after that. And so, I took him up on that offer, and Vinny ended up working for me for over a year, and it was a game changer for him. So sometimes people are maybe not in a position to do something like that. I'm not saying that I'm looking for people to do that right now, because I do have a team now, or whatever the case may be. And at that time, that was a great offer. But I think it's stuff like that you got to find a way to get in the game. Whether it be spending your own money or spend somebody else's. And if you don't have clients, go work for somebody that has clients and, offer to help them on that front or something to that degree. But you got to find a way to get in the game. And I think there's a lot of ways to do that. But, it really boils down to spending your money or spending somebody else's, because ultimately the money has to be spent.
Right. So thank you for sharing that. I just want to say, awesome shirt. So thank you for wearing that.
Yes.
Okay. So before we go, I know we have to close now. Thank you for the knowledge. So if people want to reach out and work with you, what would be the best way?
Tommie Traffic, TommieTraffic.com. My name, Tommie with an IE. I'm Tommie Traffic everywhere. I don't do social a lot, but my website is the best way to find me or reach me. I am Tommie Traffic on Facebook and Instagram and YouTube and all of that kind of stuff. And my website is TommieTraffic.com. So I do got like the little branding, you know, across all of it, but I'm just not really on social. Like I mean, I probably will be at some point, but as of right now, I don't really do a lot on social. But, you know, my website is the best place to, you know, go to my site, and I'm easy to find. I'm easy to get reached through that.
Yeah. So when I was actually trying to search for you, like I found an interview on YouTube and someone misspelled your name. They spelled your last name with a Y. And so when I would search online, it was so hard to find you. And then, yeah, I just found somewhere that was IE, and then I was able to find you.
Yep. I try to tell people it's IE, but, you know, sometimes folks don't listen. They'll put a Y on it. You know, I quit fighting that fight a long time ago. I'm very intentional about saying the IE because I know that, but, you know, some people still, and I'm sure whoever that was, I told them IE and they still put a Y on it, but what can you do?
Okay, awesome. So this is now like the ending, and I asked all of my guests with this, and you know, most of my, like all my guests love this question, and I leave it till the end. So I want you to imagine you're at home, you go to your basement, there's a wall there, you put your hand on the wall, it scans your fingerprints of your hand, and it opens up a door. You go inside the door, and there's a lock there. And only you have access to this lock. It's a key. You take a key, you put it into the lock, you open the door. So that's the second door that opens up. You walk inside, there's a briefcase in that room, okay? Only you have access to this combination. You put it in, you open up the briefcase. In that briefcase, there's one piece of paper. On that piece of paper, if one day you weren't on this planet, but you were to leave instructions for your daughters, for your sons, for your wife, for your uncle, for your cousins, you know, if you wanted them to have success, what would be on that document?
Always do the right thing. Never settle for less than what you think. Know your worth. And you know, I tell my kids this. When I die on my tombstone, if y'all choose to put one, the only thing I ask y'all to do is just say, here lies a man who left the world better than he found it. They know those instructions ever since they was little. And so the thing that I would have on there would be, you know, make the world better than you found it.
Wow, that's so awesome. So, you know, Tommie, once again, thank you so much, you know, for spending all this time, you know, giving knowledge and, you know, really making, you know, an impact on you know, the audience. So, you know, thank you very much, Tommie.
Appreciate it. Thanks for having me, man.
All right, guys. So that's the end of the episode. Way more customers, and talk to you guys on the next one.